Tavares in the far corner. Riley's still up there. And it's played for Shannon. Missed his pass, but Tavares keeps it going. And it's John Tavares behind the net. Coming out in front. John scores! John Tavares! They finally caught lightning in a bottle. And the Maple Leafs have broken the 19-year curse. You got a bunch of...
Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys, brought to you by the National Hockey Now Network. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by National Hockey Now. Sunday, April 30th. Ian Cameron with you, just yours truly on this Sunday as we gear up for 2 Game 7s. Game 7's the best 2 words in sports, especially in this sport. I mean, it doesn't get more tense. It doesn't get more dramatic. It certainly doesn't get more, nerves in your system. You don't get more nerves in your system than you do in a Game 7 in a Stanley Cup playoff series. And we are going to have the good fortune to be able to witness 2 Game 7s tonight in Stanley Cup playoff action. The Florida Panthers and the Boston Bruins to start it off in an unfathomable Game 7, considering the dominance we saw all season from the Boston Bruins. And yet here they are in the first round after having one of the most historical regular seasons in NHL history, being pushed to the limit by the Florida Panthers in the first round. And then we will follow that with the Seattle Kraken and the Colorado Avalanche in the second Game 7 taking place tonight. So we're looking forward to it. It's not the best 2 words when your team is involved, and that's 1,000% true, says John Massey in the chat. No question about that. Of course, we started the show there with a little video intro, audio intro of the goal that basically exorcised all the demons and got rid of 19 years of just absolute failure, catastrophes, choke jobs, gag jobs, collapses, heartbreaks, disappointments. 19 years of it consecutively in the Stanley Cup playoffs for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And finally, as Chris Cuthbert said in his wonderful call of that game-winning goal, the curse is broken, and the Toronto Maple Leafs win a playoff series for the first time in 19 years. And thankfully, I don't have to rip them apart and rant about them following another first-round demise, which has become, to be quite honest with you, an Ice Guys show tradition over the last 2 springs. But finally, the Leafs get it done last night with that victory against the Tampa Bay Lightning. And you know what's funny is that in some of these playoff losses the Leafs have had in years past, they have been outplaying the opponent. They have done it at times. They've carried the play. They've looked more than good enough to be a team to win the game and win the series, and yet they just have failed to get it done. Oddly enough, in this series, you could make a great case that Tampa Bay outplayed Toronto for the majority of it. Carried the play, seemed to look like they had a lot more. The puck was on their stick a lot more. They had a lot more offensive zone time for sure as well. And the Toronto Maple Leafs, though, survived it, withstood the push whenever Tampa Bay would make it. They got, I think, some of the best goaltending, some of the most clutch goaltending, timely save goaltending that they have received during this 20-year dry spell, especially last night for Ilya Samsonov, because there were many occasions in that game last night where, wow, there's a grade A chance for the Tampa Bay Lightning. whether it was a point-blank chance that Braden Point had, in the third period, whether it was Mikey Asimont coming in on a breakaway in overtime. There were many examples of Ilya Samsonov having to shut the door and face some relatively difficult level of quality chances in terms of high danger chances. He did that, and the Toronto Maple Leafs get the bounce, and Tampa Bay didn't. Let's be honest. I mean, it's not going to be a Picasso or a Rembrandt. It's not going to be pretty when you look back at the replay of that John Tavares overtime game-winning goal, but it won the series for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and it ended the 19-year drought. And I think at the end of the day, that is really all they care about. So congrats to them, the whole organization, especially the fan base. For as much as they are a pain-in-the-ass fan base, and you better fucking believe it, they still are, and even more so maybe today because, you would think they won the Stanley Cup, this Leaf team, after last night. If you see the reactions in Toronto at Maple Leaf Square, outside Scotiabank Arena, downtown Toronto, people in their homes, people on the street, you would have thought they won a cup last night. They won a championship. Hold on, folks. It's just one round. And normally, if a fan base did that after one fucking playoff series round, I'd say, what a bunch of fucking losers you are. What a bunch of, what a pathetic group, what a pathetic lot you are. You're going this crazy in celebration after one playoff series round. But there is no doubt I am giving the Leaf fans a break when it comes to that last night. As far as I'm concerned, you want to get your ass, you want to get pie-eyed, you want to get fucking hammered, you want to get shit-faced, you want to go nuts celebrating last night, jumping up on telephone poles, jumping up on street lights, climbing those, which we saw signs of that in downtown Toronto last night. If you want to do it, go for it. You've earned it. You've had to suffer for 19 years of misery, of pain, of heartache, of gut-wrenching anguish, and all of a sudden it gets basically snuffed out, and you extricate yourself from the doom, from the gloom last night in that Game 7 victory, at least for a little bit. Now, here's the thing, and I know Alex talked about this too, and we've talked about this all season. And all along we said, what if this is actually the year the Leafs finally win the first round? What if that happens? Does this mean the weight and the burden is off their shoulders, and all of a sudden they play relaxed, they play carefree, they play with extreme confidence because now they've got a series victory in their back pocket? And does this make Toronto dangerous from here on out, regardless of whether they play Boston or Florida in the next round? And does it make them dangerous in that series coming up and beyond? Because it's just that weight is gone. They don't have to grip their sticks as tightly. I mean, all of that is a legitimate, opinion here going into this next series. That maybe that finally winning that series was just such a fucking weight, off the shoulders of the team, off Matthews, Marner, Nylander, Tavares, Morgan Riley, who's the longest tenured Leaf, the coaching staff that's been here for years, the management, and Dubas, who's been here for years. It was just such a weight to finally win that first round that everybody's relaxed and they're better for it, moving forward. So, it's going to be interesting to see how they fare. Before we get off that game, I want to say congrats to the Tampa Bay Lightning still for, a hell of a series. We all had our doubts, going into the playoffs that Tampa Bay would be, there's people that thought Toronto would just rip through Tampa Bay, and it was far from that in the first round. Toronto had to sweat. Toronto had to grind. Toronto had to work for everything they got in that first round against the Tampa Bay Lightning. And, you have to give that team their due and their respect and tip your cap to, Steven Stamkos and Braden Point and Nikita Kucherov and Victor Hedman and Andrei Vasilevsky, and the core of that Tampa Bay team that, it's not easy to win back-to-back Stanley Cups, and it sure as fuck ain't easy to go to the Stanley Cup final, not once, not twice, but 3 years in a row, to have the physical stamina, the mental stamina, the emotional, strength to still accomplish that 3 years in a row is mind-blowing. So you have to give them their due. It's going to be a very, very interesting offseason for them. There was that thought that, there could be some significant changes to the Lightning just because of the salary cap issues that they're up against it. They're they're one of many teams in the NHL that they are right up against it as far as the salary cap is concerned. So how Julien Brisebois, the general manager of the Lightning, manages that in the offseason is going to be very, very interesting to witness. But we do have to give them credit. It's been a hell of a few years here for the Tampa Bay Lightning, even though their season ended last night a little bit prematurely. And also, John Cooper, great show of respect in the handshake line last night, which is one of the great traditions in sports after every playoff series, the handshake line, and he's tapping Austin Matthews on the helmet, and real show of respect. Same with him and Sheldon Keefe at the end. So very good to see that. And like I say, the Leafs, shockingly, for the first time since 2004, win a playoff series. For the first time in high-definition television, for the first time in the Twitter era, for the first time really in the social media era. Like, they have not won a playoff series during any moment of time when Twitter and Instagram, and I don't even know if Facebook was around in 2004. That's how long it's been. MySpace was around. I know that. So, yeah, the Leafs did win a playoff series when MySpace was around, but I think after that, that's about it. So, but it was well-earned. They've suffered through a lot, and we'll see what they do in the second round and beyond. And then in the other series last night, it was the Edmonton Oilers taking on the LA Kings in the other game last night. Actually, Rangers Devils will start there. Look, just when you think they're out there, they pull you back in. That classic line from The Godfather. It's what it was like with the Rangers last night. Just when you think they're done, horrible 3 games in a row, 3, 4, and 5. Game 5 in New Jersey might have been the lowest of the low, and they pull you back in, and all of a sudden, here's Mika Zibanejad scoring his first goal of the series. Hi, Mika. Nice for DJ Zbans to finally realize the Stanley Cup playoffs had started. He gets a big goal last night. Vladimir Tarasenko making it 3-1 for the Rangers. Even though he didn't score, it was much more noticeable effort from Patrick Kane. All the best play, and Chris Kreider after he's had a great series, but a lot of his damage was early in the series in those 2 wins. He steps up with the big deflection goal to really get the Rangers going last night. So all of a sudden, the New York Rangers strike back with not only a win, but a decisive win, the kind of win they had in Game 1 and in Game 2. Have they shaken the confidence of Akira Schmid? That's going to be interesting moving forward. They finally got to him. They finally put some pucks behind him so much that he got pulled late in that game, which as a decision I don't mind. Save him for Game 7. They're going to go right back to him in Game 7. That's not a sign that they're done with Akira Schmid, that he finally got beat. I'm sure of it that Lindy Ruff will go back to Akira Schmid, but there's really nothing more to say about last night's game than that. The Rangers had to man up. The Rangers had to get their offense going, to get their power play going. The big guns, which they have plenty of offensively, had to step up and produce and get the job done with their season on the line facing elimination. And they did that last night. So that's why the Rangers forced a Game 7. And that is why we're going to be going back to Newark tomorrow night for a Game 7. And it'll be the last game of the first round tomorrow night. Rangers, Devils. They've already set the time, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern time tomorrow night for the Rangers and Devils. It should be a great one. Shesterkin was his normal solid self as well for the Rangers. And look, the Rangers, they did not like their puck management the last 2 games. Turnovers, a little lazy. They were when they didn't have the puck. It was totally different last night. Finally, the message got through. And John Massey's saying, yeah, it was never not going 7. And if you know Rangers hockey, you know they've been in a shit ton of 7-game series over the last decade. This is going back to when Henrik Lundqvist was just a young goalie in the NHL and the Rangers were in the playoffs. They played so many 7-game series. No question about that. By the way, Henrik Lundqvist is going to be on the TNT panel tonight for these 2 Game 7s. So I'm sure he'll be much happier being part of the TNT crew tonight, knowing that the New York Rangers have advanced to Game 7 against the New Jersey Devils tomorrow night. And then the other game late in the night was Edmonton, LA, and the Oilers. Just too good. Just too explosive. Too much firepower. The power play was just too much for the LA Kings. What did that team finish on the power play? 9 for 15, 9 for 16, close to 60% for the series. Are you shitting me with those numbers for one team on the power play in a playoff series? It was absolutely unbelievable to see that. Absolutely remarkable to see what we saw from the Edmonton Oilers power play, considering how good LA can be defensively. And yet the Edmonton Oilers power play and all those weapons that Jay Woodcroft has at his disposal to put out there with the man advantage were just too much for the LA Kings. Again, and even at 5-on-5, we saw later in the series, other players stepped up. Few games there, it was Zach Hyman. It was Evander Kane. Last night, Klim Kostin, another unsung hero for the Oilers. Another depth forward gets it done. Kyler Yamamoto with the game-winning goal late in the third period. If Edmonton can continue to get those secondary wave contributions offensively from forwards other than Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, and you could say even beyond Zach Hyman and Evander Kane, if you get your Klim Kostin stepping up, you get Kyler Yamamoto chipping in, and what if Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, starts to pick it up again? Now, he had an amazing regular season, 100 points. He was the one guy that was pretty quiet in that first-round series for the Oilers, but what if he gets going again for them? I mean, to me, with that lethal firepower and offensive onslaught that they can bring, that power play, they can win any game they want, because we're seeing, and we saw it in the LA series, and again last night, we saw it in the game they came back from a 3-0 deficit in Game 4 to win in overtime. Edmonton can still win playoff games when they give up 4 goals. That's not supposed to happen. All right, that is not supposed to happen. You give up 4 goals in a Stanley Cup playoff game, you're toast. You're not winning that game. In a time of season when the checking is tighter, when defensive play improves and goaltending is usually very strong, and players are blocking shots left and right, you're not supposed to win multiple times in a series Stanley Cup playoff games when you give up 4 goals. Okay, and the Edmonton Oilers can do that. Why? Because they're that fucking good offensively, and that power play is one of the best of all time. There's no debate. There's absolutely zero debate. This is one of the absolute all-time greatest power play units that any NHL team has had in the history of the league. There is no argument there with what we're seeing from the Edmonton Oilers with the man advantage. It's ridiculous what they're doing with it. It's almost at the point where you take a penalty against Edmonton, puck's going to end up in the back of your net. That is how incredible they have been right now with the throughout the whole season with the power play. But what's been even more unbelievable is that it's continued in the playoffs when things are supposed to be tougher to score. Even with the man advantage, it's supposed to be tougher to score in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Not for this Edmonton team, apparently. Just remarkable stuff. Leon Draisaitl, just a ridiculous series for him. 7 goals for the Oilers? Connor McDavid had a great night last night. And look, I still think he's bothered a little bit by that leg injury, but for him to play like that last night through it was very impressive. Defensively, they've done enough. I mean, that's still probably, if you had to say what you worry about with Edmonton and the Vegas series coming up and beyond, if they get through the Golden Knights, it's that, the defense and the goaltending is still the little maybe area where they're a little suspect. And what I like too is that I thought Stuart Skinner made a horrible mistake and a horrible gaffe. And it turns out that the reason he made that gaffe was because his goalie stick broke. So it really wasn't his fault in the end, which on that Deneau tying goal, which was good to see. It really wasn't on him. The stick broke. I mean, it's a tough break there. But the Oilers came back. They didn't panic. They didn't get flustered. Skinner bounced back with some big saves when it was 4-4. And then they ended up getting the Kyler Yamamoto goal. So 5-4 Oilers. They advance. The LA Kings, another. Look, the LA Kings have been, unfortunately, facing Edmonton here in each of their first-round series, and that's why they've been eliminated. I mean, they've certainly been good enough to be a team that can win a round or two in the playoffs, but they've run up against Edmonton 2 straight years, and unfortunately, Edmonton's just been too much for them. But another good season for the Kings, and for the Edmonton Oilers, that sets up what I think should be a very entertaining second round coming up between them and the Vegas Golden Knights. And if Laurent Brossoit brings the level of goaltending he did against Winnipeg in this series, this is going to be another battle for the Edmonton Oilers. So I still like them in that series, Edmonton. We'll get into it more tomorrow and Tuesday on the show, but Vegas has incredible depth, forwards, defense. Brossoit playing well. That will not be an easy series for the Edmonton Oilers. Should be a fun one to watch. Speaking of fun to watch, it doesn't get much more fun to watch than Game 7. We've got 2 of them here tonight, so let's get into it. We will start with the Florida Panthers taking on the Boston Bruins. We've got Boston here, minus 220 home favorites in Game 7. The total is 6, pretty much across the board here in this game. Very interesting to see what the lineup is for both teams, but especially Boston, because Boston's the team coming off the Game 6 loss and the Game 5 loss. A 3-1 series lead has disappeared, and now all of a sudden we've got a Game 7 on our hands here tonight. We think there's going to be some changes to the lineup. Jim Montgomery was hinting at it going into tonight's Game 7. And I think when you look at what the rumblings are coming out of the press conference that Montgomery had this morning, it looks to me like on the blue line, Connor Clifton is going to come out and Matt Grzelcyk is going to go in. That's going to be the main change for the Bruins. It looks like, too, and there was some talk, too, about whether Derek Forbort or Clifton would get in too, and Forbert's going to be in. So it's going to be Grzelcyk, McAvoy, Lindholm, Carlo, Forbort, and Orlov. That looks like that's what's going to be the 6 defensemen here for the Boston Bruins. And the other big decision was going to be, and actually I should say before we get to the real big decision, which we know is the goaltending, after what we saw from Linus Ullmark with the giveaway in Game 5 for the miscue, which not all the blame should go to him, but a big part of it, obviously. And then Game 6, he was just way below average. For a guy that's had an incredible season, just picked a really bad time to have a shitty night in Game 6. We'll get to the goaltending decision in a moment, but it looks like Nick Foligno is going to end up a healthy scratch tonight for the Bruins, and they're going to put Trent Frederic in the lineup instead, which I like. Trent Frederic's just that lightning rod of energy, forechecking, physicality, can chip in a little offense here and there. But more than that, he's there to, forecheck well, make sure Bruins play in the offensive zone tonight. Trent Frederic, throw the body around, throw his weight around. That's what Trent Frederic's in the lineup for here tonight for the Boston Bruins, if that change does indeed occur, which it looks like it is. The other lines, it's going to be Marchand, Bergeron, DeBrusk on the top line, Zacha, Krejci, Pasternak on the second line, Taylor Hall, Charlie Coyle, Tyler Bertuzzi on the third line, and then Frederic, Tomas Nosek, and Garnett Hathaway on the fourth line. And then, of course, the goaltending decision, which, from all indications, Montgomery didn't say who his starting goalie was going to be, but you read between the lines, you read anybody, Kevin Paul DuPont and Fluto Shinzawa and our guy Jimmy Murphy and anybody that Joe Haggerty, anybody that covers the Bruins, everyone's of the belief Jeremy Swayman's starting tonight, and I think it will be too. And to be honest with you, the closer we got to this game tonight, the more I was starting to think, yeah, I think it will be Jeremy Swayman here tonight. But man, you talk about, and there's no decision that could have been made here in this situation for Montgomery where it's clear cut that's for sure that's the obvious call. It's not an obvious call to put Ullmark back in there for as amazing as he's been this season, because he's coming off a game where he had a terrible turnover in Game 5 that lost it in overtime, and an awful Game 6, which was not even close to the standard that Linus Ullmark has set for himself this year. So it wasn't an easy, clear, cut and dried decision to go to Ullmark, but it was also not a clear-cut decision to go to Jeremy Swayman tonight. You're talking about a guy that hasn't played in several games, hasn't played very much at all, hasn't played any playoff hockey, and now all of a sudden you're going to end up putting him in there in the pressure cooker of a Game 7 at home to save the season and avoid what would be a brutally disappointing end to a historic season for the Boston Bruins. And there's a very passionate fan base. It's not going to sit well with Boston Bruins fans if they shit the bed and they lose tonight, and this 3-1 series evaporates and they lose in 7 tonight. It's not going to sit well with them. They won't care 2 shits about the great regular season. Nobody in Boston's going to say, but still we had, an incredible record-setting season and wins and points in the regular season. Nobody's interested. People want results at this time of year in the Stanley Cup playoffs. The same thing with the Leaf fan who finally felt good last night. You think all these years they cared about the great regular season performances? No. Every year they got bounced in the first round. It didn't, and the regular seasons didn't make up for that. So if you're the Boston Bruins here, you've got to, if you're Jeremy Swayman, man, what a big spot for him to be in. We'll see what his temperament is. We're going to find out right away, pretty much. If it's Swayman, and I think it is going to be Jeremy Swayman starting here, we're going to find out right away if he's ready to rock, if he's going to be dialed in, if he's ready to play his A game and be ready to play at a high level. Like I said, I think we're going to be able to tell immediately here in this game. So I'm fascinated to see how it plays out here in Game 7 tonight with the Panthers and the Bruins. It's a tough one to bet because, as you know, I've been riding the over in this series, and for the most part, that's gone well. The last 2 games, of course, both of them going over the total with ease. The total is still set at 6. I mean, there's been no adjustment here. So, you would think in normal circumstances, you take the over again. And I might have a small bet on it, but the history of Game 7s, not only in the NBA, but the NHL, that they are historical unders, and not just unders by a little clip, by a large clip. We're talking about Game 7 heavily trending toward the under. It's been that way, in a lot of different games in both the NHL and the NBA. And that's tough for me to pull the trigger on the over, knowing that historical under trend. I do like the third period over. I'm standing by it, and I will be on it here in this game with the Bruins and the Panthers. I'm off the side entirely. I can't, with the loss of momentum that the Boston Bruins have suffered, since being up 3-1. I'm not laying this price with them. There's just absolutely no way at minus 230 to minus 240, which is where this line opened. It's dropped down just a little bit since then, but there's just no way I'm ready to lay this price. Even the Bruins team total, which we got at a nice, even money price in Florida, you got to get minus 145, minus 150 here with the Bruins and with the team total tonight. Don't feel great about that. So I like over 2, minus 122 in the third period. And really, other than that, I'm going to be looking more at props tonight. It's going to be more of a prop game for me than anything else here. And we're going to look at one thing I do feel comfortable and confident in. Boston will be the dominant team territorially in this game. They will carry the play. I think this is going to be a repeat of Game 5 in terms of how the game flow transpires. Boston will have the edge in shots. They'll have the edge in puck possession. They'll have the edge in territorial play. And they will probably pelt 30, maybe even 40 shots on goal against Sergei Bobrovsky tonight in this game. But as we saw in Game 5, that doesn't necessarily mean that the Boston Bruins are going to win the game just because they outchance the Florida Panthers, have the puck more often. It doesn't. So I definitely think it's, like I say, I don't think the Bruins are going to give up as much to Florida. Florida, I think, will be kind of on the back foot, especially early. I could see, the Bruins really coming out strong. Our guy Kevin Beach talks about the Boston the first to 5 shots on goal. Now, it is worth noting, Florida, the last couple games, they've been the team to get to the 5 shots on goal first in each of the last 2 games. So that's a market I don't want to explore, but I will look toward goalie Bob over saves tonight because I think he's just going to be under an incredible amount of duress here in this game tonight. 30.5 is his saves prop, minus 130. I like it. Over 30.5 saves for Sergei Bobrovsky. You just got to hope that, and I don't think Boston's going to completely light him up in this game. Now, they did score a bunch the other game, Game 6 against him, and I don't think Paul Maurice is going to pull Bobrovsky in this game under any circumstance. It would have to get totally out of hand. It would have to be like 3-0 or 4-0 Boston in the first period or in the first half of the game, I think, for Bobrovsky to end up getting pulled. And I just don't see that happening. It would have to really get out of hand for the in favor of the Bruins for Bobrovsky to get pulled and for us to lose that prop. So I do still like it. It's over 30.5 saves for Sergei Bobrovsky in this game. And then as far as the shots on goal props are concerned, number one, David Pastrnak, man, this might be my favorite prop bet of the entire day. Certainly from shots on goal perspective, probably is my favorite. Over 4.5 shots on goal, minus 140 at Bet365. He's getting to 5 shots on goal. I'm convinced of it. He was telling himself, telling the media, I got to shoot the puck more going into Game 6. And boy, he was a man of his word. He had 7 shots on goal in the Game 6 7-5 loss for the Boston Bruins. So this is a very strong shots on goal bet for me. Is David Pastrnak over 4.5 shots on goal. Game 7, no tomorrow. You're a 60-goal scorer on this hockey team, the leading goal scorer on this hockey team. Shooters shoot, and this shooter, Mr. Pastrnak, is absolutely, I think, going to be shooting that puck left and right here today. So that the over 4.5 minus 140, it's one of my absolute favorite bets of the day, especially favorite shots on goal player prop bets of the day here in this game. If you want to look at other props, I mean, this is definitely a game where it's not a bad idea to look at a bunch of different Bruins over their shot prop. Because again, I think they're going to have they're going to be on the front foot. They're going to have carry the play. They're going to have that 30, 40 shot output as a team, just like they had in Game 5. And Patrice Bergeron, man, I keep talking about Patrice. 2 games back from his absence, he played in Game 5 and in Game 6. What did he have? 6 shots on goal, 4 shots on goal. I definitely think he goes over his shot prop again. It's been 2.5 these last 2 games. They finally bumped Patrice Bergeron up to 3.5 shots on goal for this game, but I don't think they bumped it up enough. Again, 6 and 4 shots on goal in the 2 games since his return. Last year in the playoffs, which I mentioned multiple times, he went over 2.5 shots in every playoff game in the first round against Carolina in the series they lost in 7 games. So he's been shooting the puck. I like the shot prop for him as well going into this game. And also I like Bergeron here to get a point, minus 150. I think it's a decent value in this because, look, the captain leads by example and the general lead, the troops will follow. I think you're going to get that kind of effort today from Bergeron. I do like a couple Florida props, but more so going to look toward, really tightening it up here in terms of the Florida props here. I'm sticking with Bennett, okay, because Sam Bennett's been just a tower of consistency for the Florida Panthers, both in terms of the shot output and, of course, the ability to score. Last game, he only had the 1 shot, but before that, he had over 2.5 shots in 4 straight games for this Panthers team. And I think he has a good chance to go over that shots number here. If there's one Florida Panther that I'm looking at here, it's Bennett to go over the 2.5 shots on goal. I definitely think that's a pretty good look here in this one. Matthew Tkachuk, it goes without saying, not only over shots, but more so with Matthew Tkachuk. I'd probably sprinkle on the goal market. Like, unless Florida gets shut out by Swayman, someone's going to put the puck in the net for them. And I think they're playing too well, and they've got a little too much momentum to say, wow, Boston's just going to roll them. Boston's going to shut them out. I don't see it. And who's going to score for them? If anybody, it's got to be Tkachuk. Tkachuk has just been their clutch player this entire series. And you can still get upwards of plus 190, is honestly what I'm seeing here with his shots on goal prop. Or it's not his shots on goal, his goal scorer prop, I should say, for this game. So, Tkachuk, plus 190, is in a game of this magnitude when we know he's been a step it up clutch performer here in these playoffs for the Florida Panthers and in this series. I think it's probably a good way to go, in my opinion, that he's going to have a really good opportunity here to end up getting over or scoring a goal, I should say, and finding the back of the net here for the Florida Panthers. So again, you can get that at plus 190 at Bet365. I think that's the best price out there for Matthew Tkachuk to score a goal. Bennett as well. Bennett, because you know what's good about Bennett? Bennett goes to the front of the net. A lot of Bennett's goals, Sam Bennett, for Florida, they're right around the blue paint. And that's where you're going to have to try to score in a Game 7, because it's not going to be easy to get free from defensive coverage, and it's not going to be easy to find that open time and space in the offensive zone. So Bennett, to me, is the perfect example of someone that can break down the coverage and get to those tough areas to score for the Florida Panthers. The only other goal prop I would probably consider, certainly from a value standpoint, I mean, you could go Marchand too. Not in a Game 7, Brad Marchand, I'll never say no. I think Pasternak is the best option. Like Pasternak shots on goal and goal prop, I knew right away I was betting both. I really like the shots on goal, especially, like I said, for Pasternak. I wouldn't talk anyone out of a goal prop for Marchand, plus 180 in that realm, but I'm also not going to sleep totally on Taylor Hall. And Taylor Hall's done some damage here at home in this series, and that's probably where I'm going to draw the line. Keep it tight, because this could be a 2-1, 3-1 game. It really could be. We know Game 7s have kind of trended under, so I don't want to be peppering the board with a ton of goal props. I don't. So, Taylor Hall plus 260 in some spots. It's a good price. Hall, Marchand, Pasternak, Bennett, Tkachuk. I mean, I'm really tightening it up and looking at those guys in particular to find the back of the net, as with their shot on goal props. Bergeron to get a point as well, because the price isn't as bad with that here as well, no question. So that's really what I'm focusing on, and of course Bobrovsky over saves, which I mentioned earlier as well. More props than anything. The only pregame side or total that I have here is the third period over in this game, but should be a fun, exciting game, and certainly such a lot on the line for the Boston Bruins, because if they were to bow out tonight in Game 7 of this first-round series against a team that just barely got into the playoffs and kind of struggled and was mediocre all regular season, what a bitter pill it would be for the Bruins and certainly for the Bruin fan base. So it will be a much-anticipated Game 7 at TD Garden here tonight. All right, we will be back in just a moment to talk about the other Game 7, Colorado Avalanche, the defending Stanley Cup champions, looking to stay alive and move on to the second round, hosting the upstart Seattle Kraken. We will get to that game and preview it in just a moment. 178 live viewers on YouTube. Hit the like button. Appreciate it very much. Shout out to our podcast listeners as well. We'll be back in just a moment to talk Seattle, Colorado, Game 7 coming up right after we hear from Gramco.
Support for the Ice Guys is brought to you by Gramco. Whether you or your team's game is on the field, screen, racetrack, court, or the ice, Gramco is for the game. Grown by farmers who spent years developing premium hemp genetics, Gramco provides customers with consistent quality Delta-8 THC products ready for any occasion. Gramco currently offers numerous Delta-8 products, including vape cartridges, disposable vapes, pre-rolls, gummies, wake and bake coffee, and more. Gramco offers an enjoyable, legal high delivered discreetly and directly to you. Gramco is also available at many American retailers as well. You can get the best Delta-8 cannabis products on the market shipped quickly and discreetly from Gramco. And if you visit www.thegramco.com, use promo code ICEGUYS, you will get 20% off of every order, and any order that's on the site over $50 will be shipped free with standard shipping. So live elevated with Gramco and check out their wonderful Delta-8 products today.
All right, the second Game 7 here tonight on this Sunday, splendid Sunday of Game 7s in the Stanley Cup playoffs. We go to Denver, Mile High, Seattle Kraken, Colorado Avalanche. Colorado minus 220, home favorites, 5.5 the total here in this Game 7. It feels like Colorado has all the momentum following that Game 6 win in Seattle. I mean, I'm sure the Kraken fans were hoping for it to be a momentous night at home, trying to clinch their first ever playoff series win. And it sure feels like the Avalanche have a shit ton of momentum going into this Game 7. But man, this has been a resilient, feisty, tough-minded Seattle Kraken team all season. A Seattle team with one of the best road records in the NHL, 28-15. This season on the road for the Seattle Kraken. A Seattle team that has already managed to beat Colorado multiple times here in Denver in this series, winning Game 1 in this series, of course, getting the job done there. Let me just see what that's. Yeah, 3-1. They took Game 1. They ended up taking Game 5 in Colorado as well. So, I don't think Seattle's coming in here quaking in their boots, saying we've got no shot, we've lost our chance, to win this series. Following that Game 6 loss at home. So I'm sprinkling on Seattle here tonight. I am plus 190. I feel of the two underdogs, Seattle's got the better chance tonight. They haven't been in awe of Colorado. Colorado not having Cogliano, you're going to some people will yawn. That will induce yawns, basically that he's going to be missing. But he's a very important defensive player down the lineup for this Avalanche team. He's very good away from the puck defensively. His absence, especially when you look at what some of the depth forwards have done for Seattle in this series. It's not always been, Eberle and Beniers and Schwartz and the top players that have burned Colorado in this series. Morgan Geekie and Daniel Sprong, players like that have stepped up, offensively. And it's been repeated that they've gotten contributions up and down the lineup here for Seattle going into this game tonight. So to not have the defensive conscience and presence of an Andrew Cogliano to go with, still Big Val Nichushkin still out because of his issues that he had. I mean, there's just all kinds of reasons here to think, this is not going to be an easy closeout game, even at home, even in front of the Ball Arena faithful here for the Colorado Avalanche. So, of the two dogs tonight, like I said, I'm certainly not interested in laying with either favorite, but like I said, I'm not interested in Boston, but I'm less inclined to go against Boston than I am Colorado. They're to me, especially at home, it's just been shocking to see Seattle dictate the terms as often as they have here in Denver. In Game 1, they totally deserved the win, Seattle. And the Colorado did push back in Game 2, but man, it felt like a survival. Even the Game 2 home win that the Avalanche had in this series. But I think it's just going to be a tough game. I'm on the Seattle and the draw split as well, because I think of the two games, this has greater overtime potential as well. I can't go through these 2 Game 7s without taking a shot on one of these games to go to a draw, to go to overtime. And I think this is the one that I think's got the shot to do it. So for me, it's going to be a little Seattle, a little on the draw as well, at a good price, and we will go from there for this game. And again, the draw plus is a really good price here if you look at it. And again, go to FanDuel, you'll get the best price on it, plus 350 for the draw in this game. I think if there's one of these games that's going to go to OT, it could be this one. That's what I'm looking at. I'm not really involved. I'm not involved in the full game total, but as you know, I will be on the third period over, which I'm even more inclined to look at third period only in these Game 7 elimination games, because a lot of times it's a slow start. I mean, to be honest with you, if you want to look at under 1.5 in the first period for both of these Game 7s tonight, I wouldn't talk you out of it. I wouldn't. I've got that pit of my gut, and I hate unders. I despise unders, but I will always tell you when I think in the pit of my stomach, I feel a game's going to be lower scoring. And I think in these 2 Game 7s tonight, you'll go 1-1 at worst, maybe, and most possibly 2-0 if you go with the first period under, in both of these games tonight, Florida, Boston, and Seattle, Colorado. I definitely think there's potential we could get that slow start. Yeah, the Kraken have scored. I'm tempted by that as well. I don't like it as much tonight just because it's Game 7 and maybe Colorado for a change, gets up early and gets the first goal bolstered by the crowd. But I'm certainly going to probably put a couple bucks on that. How can I not? I did in Game 6, and it ended up being actually all Colorado after Seattle got that first goal. But certainly the Seattle Kraken scoring the first goal in every game in this series. It's hard to ignore that. 6-0 scoring the first goal in this series, the Seattle Kraken, and you get a nice plus price on that at FanDuel. So, like I said, it's hard not to look at that, especially given the tendencies that we have seen in this series. As far as player props go for this game, Jaden Schwartz over shots on goal. I mean, I'm just going to keep on hammering this thing as long as I can, because this guy has been totally they've been sleeping on his shot on goal numbers in terms of these player props for Jaden Schwartz for Seattle. He's gone 3, 4, 11, 4, and 4 shots on goal in the last 5 games for the Seattle Kraken. They finally tonight bumped it up to 3.5 with his shots on goal prop. Actually, no, they have not. I beg your pardon. 2.5 minus 150 for his shots on goal prop right now at Bet365. Maybe some books have pumped it up to 3.5 here on Jaden Schwartz. I'm just looking right now. No, I thought they would. I thought they would. I thought they might. They have not. It's 2.5 across the board. Jaden Schwartz over shots on goal. I'm seeing minus 142 at Caesars, minus 143 at Bet Rivers, minus 152 at FanDuel, minus 155 at DraftKings. So they've adjusted the price. They've adjusted the juice. You're not getting the minus 120, minus 130 you once did, but there's no question that Jaden Schwartz has been totally undervalued here in the shots on goal. And again, he still only needs 3 shots on goal to cash that ticket, with the number being 2.5 still. So definitely liking that shots on goal prop. I'm not overthinking it on the Colorado side. You go with the great Nathan McKinnon here for Colorado. I expect him to be a shooting machine here tonight in this game, backs against the wall. That's what he does. And especially in these elimination games, I think you're going to get a shit ton of rubber fired at Philip Grubauer tonight, courtesy of Nate McKinnon. McKinnon had 7 shots on goal in the last game at Seattle, Game 6, the first time his team's been facing elimination in this series. What did McKinnon do? He had 7 shots on goal. That's what he had. So 4.5, Nate McKinnon, over 4.5 shots on goal. Minus 160, okay? So it's a little pricey, but I think he's getting over that. And if you don't like the minus 160 for Nathan McKinnon over 4.5 shots on goal, then what you can do is you could, you go the ladder route. FanDuel offers that. You go 5+ shots, 6+ shots. Hell, he had 7+ shots on goal. He had 7 shots on goal in Seattle in Game 6 on Friday night. If you want to take 7+ shots on goal and get a better price on that at FanDuel, I wouldn't talk you out of it. 7+ shots for McKinnon at FanDuel is plus 220 if you're interested. So not a bad option there for sure. If you're looking at shots on goal numbers there for Nathan McKinnon, should be a excellent game here. I'm looking forward to it. It is lots of storylines, and certainly if you're going to go goal props or point props, anything like that here for this game tonight with the Seattle Kraken and the Colorado Avalanche, I get this funny feeling because I'm targeting players that are going to make their presence known in the paint, in the blue paint, in the crease area, get in the goalie's kitchen, make life miserable for the opposing goaltender. And nobody exemplifies that more on the Seattle Kraken. And this is just a gut feel bargain bin special for me with the goal prop market on the Seattle side tonight. And that's Yanni Gourde, who, of course, has been with winning teams in the playoffs before in his Tampa Bay days, knows what it takes to win games of this magnitude. And you can get Yanni Gourde here. And I'm just looking at the prices. Yanni Gourde at plus 380 to score a goal in some books tonight at DraftKings, BetMGM, and PointsBet. All have Yanni Gourde at plus 380 to score a goal tonight. It's just got that feel to it for me, that he's the kind of player that would find a way to score in a game like this where there's not a lot of room out there, where, everybody's going to be looking to block shots, that are coming from the point area or the slot area, where you're going to have to try to get to the loose change right in front of the net. And very few players do that better for the Seattle Kraken than Yanni Gourde. So that definitely is one that I'm interested in as far as a bargain bin goal prop tonight. I think for Colorado, like I say, it's just been remarkable to see how so much of the offensive load has fallen on Nate McKinnon and Mikko Rantanen. So, it's difficult to go veer away from those two guys as far as, scoring goals and making things happen offensively here for the Colorado Avalanche, because those have been the two guys all playoffs that have been getting it done. If you actually look at the goals, You got Rantanen with 6, McKinnon with 3 in this series, and then actually Lekkonen's chipped in with 3, so he may not be a bad option either. But then after that, it's pretty dry. You've got Rodriguez with 1, Compher with 1, Big Val had 1 before his recent absence. That's about it. So, don't overthink it. I mean, Rantanen, McKinnon, and if you want to sprinkle on Lekkonen too, who's got 3 goals in this series, that's about the extent of the offense for the most part here for Colorado in this series. So keep an eye on that. And as far as Seattle goes, like I say, there's a lot more depth in terms of their scoring contributions. Jaden Schwartz, like I say, I like his shots on goal. I like him to score a goal too. He's tied for the team lead in as far as points go in this series. He's got 2 goals in this series. Now, again, there's a lot of 2s and 1s as far as goals scored in the series for Seattle because they've gotten so many different contributions that they haven't relied on just 1 or 2 guys. But Schwartz and Geekie scored in Denver the last time they played. If you're looking bargain bin, there's another name to throw at you. Morgan Geekie, who is plus 620 at FanDuel to score a goal tonight. Morgan Geekie, which is one hell of a price if you ask me, because he's actually tied with Jaden Schwartz for the team lead in goals in this series for the Seattle Kraken. So, yeah, I think that's something I've got to sprinkle on a little bit, is that plus 620. So that's what I'm looking at. Makar over shots on goal. Definitely I'm interested. Rantanen, same thing. McKinnon and the shot market. Schwartz, especially for Seattle. He's by far the number 1 shot on goal prop for Seattle tonight, just in terms of value compared to many of the others. So that's what I'm going to be looking at here with Game 7 with the Kraken and the Avs. And as I mentioned earlier, third period over as well in this game. And also a little sprinkle, a split bet on Seattle money line and the draw for this Game 7 here with the Avalanche hosting the Kraken. Fascinating game. Like common wisdom tells you it's defending champs. They got the series back, momentum on their side. Going home for Game 7, they're going to romp. They're going to close it out. But, man, there's something about Seattle, man. They have not backed down. They've been so good on the road all year. I think it's going to be a tough game for Colorado. They could still win it. It would not shock me if they do, but I don't think Seattle's making it easy on them. It's going to be a great game to watch. They're both going to be great Game 7s to watch here tonight between the Panthers and Bruins and then the Avs. All right, that's your look at Game 7 in both Game 7s on this Sunday night. I'm looking forward to them. I know you guys are as well. Hit the like button if you're watching on YouTube. We appreciate it. And a reminder, check out patreon.com/iceguys. Just $10 a month. Goalie charts, totals charts, power ratings, daily Ice Guys show betting card, and more. Check it out, patreon.com/iceguys. Just $10 a month. And also make sure you check out the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com, and get yourself some Ice Guys merch. The weather's starting to warm up. May arrives tomorrow. No better time than right now to check out the Ice Guys store and cop yourself some great Ice Guys gear. All right, it is time for Best Bets in just a moment to wrap things up right after we hear from Manscaped. Support for the Ice Guys is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 7 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you, 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the promo code ICEGUYS. That's promo code ICEGUYS at manscaped.com. If my math is correct, it's about 14 million balls that you can preserve. The Performance Package 4.0 is the complete accessory package to take care of everything that is required. You've got, of course, the Lawnmower 4.0. Takes care of your facial hair and among other things. You've got, of course, the Weed Whacker. I'm approaching 40. Nose hair has become a major issue. It pisses the hell out of me. I need to take care of that shit, and the Weed Whacker can help you do that. Both of these products, waterproof and a 4000K LED spotlight for a more precise shave. And you'll also be able to take care of those delicate areas with the ball toner, with the ball deodorant, keep you smelling good, looking good, and feeling good down in the nether regions. This complete Performance Package 4.0 will take care of everything for you, for all you guys out there. And it's courtesy of our good friends at manscaped.com. So get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code IceGuys at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. And use promo code IceGuys. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. All right, it is time for best bets, and I'm going to go to a player prop for best bets because there's no doubt I'm feeling it with the player props more than I am with sides and with totals for these 2 Game 7s tonight. And we're going to pasta. We're going to go to our nice little Italian dish, and we're going to look at pasta to get 5 or more shots on goal. The price is great. The number is great. He just talked about shooting the puck a lot more going into Game 6. And Pasta was a man of his word. 7 shots on goal for David Pastrnak in Game 6 against the Florida Panthers. And all we need is 5 from him tonight to cash this ticket. It's one of the best player prop bets on the board, in my opinion, and we're making it best bet material. David Pastrnak, Boston Bruins, over 4.5 shots on goal, minus 140. That's going to be your best bet here for this Sunday, Game 7 Stanley Cup playoff slate. All right, that's a wrap. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. We appreciate it very much. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. I'm Ian Cameron. What a night coming up. Enjoy the 2 Game 7s. An incredible Game 7 doubleheader coming your way tonight. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we'll be back tomorrow on Monday, 2 p.m. Eastern, for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by National Hockey Now.